Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Happy Tuesday, all you mentees. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And it is that time of the week where we take a look at all of these particular collected editions coming out from Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these collected editions. All these books are due out in the direct market and book market on September 24th or 25th, depending on where you get your books. And as always, I do leave timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around in case you're curious about one or two titles or in case you don't want any spoilers. And please don't forget to smash that like button. It goes a long way for us here on the channel. Very small thing you can do. We've got 3 Epic Collections, and these are new Epic Collections. They're not reprints. 1 modern and 2 classics. It's weird to say Generation X is a classic. We've got the finale of an ongoing series, a mini-series that takes place after the Hellfire Gala, and then the Werewolf by Night one-shots. This is a really interesting collection, and some of these stories have never been collected anywhere else. So let's actually go ahead and start with the finale of X-Force. Alright, X-Force by Benjamin Percy, Volume 9. Wrapping up the X-Force run by Percy. And we know that we're getting a Sabretooth War coming out, the omnibus, but no mention yet of a finale for X-Force in oversized hardcover. But as of right now, this does wrap up the era of X-Force for the Krakoa time, and also Benjamin Percy's time writing the story. But he isn't alone, as you can see here. You have Daniel Picciotto and Robert Gill doing the art, Guru FX doing the colors, and then Joe Caramagna doing the lettering. Tom Mueller, of course, the designer of the book. And this collects the last issues of X-Force that kicked off in 2020, 4 years ago. 47 through 50, and the book has 112 pages and retails for $15.99. So, spoilers for what happened previously, because we are talking about the final book, and even looking at some of these pictures, you might get spoiled as to what's happening. So this all, of course, takes place after the Hellfire Gala, where Orcus just invaded and is now hunting mutants. Cyclops is trying to make a deal and then gets arrested. So Wolverine is still a big part of this team. And the team is, of course, of Sage, Domino, Colossus got his memories back and his brain back, Omega Red and Kid Omega, and then Laura Wolverine, and then you have Logan Wolverine, and then, of course, Black Tom Cassidy. But that is the main core of the team. This gives you a little bit of a flashback as to what happened in the Hellfire Gala with that massacre. So this is really the team trying to get back to other team members, trying to recruit and find other mutants around the Earth, while also avoiding these Stark Sentinels. And as I mentioned that, you may want to go and check out at least the Fall and Rise of X, especially for the next book that is coming out, or that I'll be talking about here in a bit. But each of the team members ends up getting separated and reunited again. But one of the most important things that happens here is this whole closure as to what is really going on with the Beast. The Beast, for a lot of us, has been acting out of character, and could it be a clone? Could it be the real Hank McCoy? Or maybe the real Hank McCoy is somewhere else? I remember for a long time, some of us thought, oh, it's the Age of Apocalypse Beast. Well, there is resolution in this particular final trade paperback. I will say that. And with that resolution comes a big surprise with issue, I think it's this one, where Simon comes in. And, him and Beast have been great friends since the days of the Avengers. So it's always nice to see Wonder Man show up and kind of have a team up with the Beast. And what ends up happening? Well, I will let you find out for yourself. There is a goodbye letter here from the editor. And also, of course, Ben Percy. And then your covers. I love that giant size homage covers there. Those main covers are done by Daniel Acuna. And then your variant covers. And rest in peace, John Cassaday. Nick Bradshaw, who I miss internal artwork of. And then, of course, you've got classic George Perez, Mark Brooks, and then even the toy covers here. That's awesome. Again, 112 pages, retailing for $15.99. Werewolf by Night, Unholy Alliance. So this is the one that I was mentioning that is... stories are in here that are not collected anywhere else. So you do have Werewolf by Night, the 2023 one-shot. And then you have Moon Knight Annual Number 1, Crypt of Shadows from 2022, and then Crypt of Shadows one-shot from 2023. This book has 144 pages and retails for $19.99. And here are all of the creators, because whenever you're dealing with the Crypt of Shadows, those have different creators working on different segments because you're focusing on different monsters. But you have Derek Landy doing the Werewolf by Night one-shot with Fran Galan, and then Jen McKay doing the annual of Moon Knight with Federico Sabatini doing the artwork there. And then all of these different creators like Al Ewing and Jeff Shaw. And even Adam Warren gets a chance to come in here and write and draw a story. Chris Cooper and also Chris Cundon. And it kicks off with the Crypt of Shadows here, where you do have this particular character introducing some of these characters, or what you're about to see, because this is more like I guess, in a way, like an EC comic, or the Tales from the Crypt, if you will. But that is an easy comic. What I meant to say is like creepy and eerie archives, like those kind of stories, where you have somebody that is pretty much your host, introducing you to the tales of the unknown. So you have characters in here like Bloodline, you have characters in here. By the way, this is the character of Victor Strange, who showed up many moons ago, long before this. But he does play the role of the Crypt Keeper here. I keep calling him that. But also in the Crypt of Shadows, the second one. You have stories about Morbius, you have stories about Werewolf by Night, you've got stories about Man-Thing. I love the Elsa. Anytime you have an Elsa Bloodstone story, I'm in. Fran Galan doing the artwork in here, and really suits the character. X-23 actually gets a story in here. This is the one about Adam Warren. Yeah, and it's against Man-Thing. It's just really cool to see Adam Warren do a Marvel comic. You know, I know he has done heroes in the past, but I know him mostly because of his work on Dirty Pair, or what was it, the Bubblegum Crisis, that was it. And then, of course, he has his own creator-owned series, the Empowered creator-owned series. But that's what that is. And then we move on to the Moon Knight Annual Number 1, which, of course, reunites the character of Jack Russell with Moon Knight, because, you know, that's when he made his first appearance, and... well, Moon Knight made his first appearance in the Werewolf by Night comic. But we also get to see, in case you haven't been keeping up with Moon Knight, and you should because it's so good, you get to see the Midnight Mission, and characters like Reese, and Hunter's Moon, and Beatrice, and all these characters that are playing a big supporting cast. And in this particular story, I think I've talked about it before, it's just a bunch of werewolves that are going after your main characters. So it's Werewolf by Night, of course, Jack trying to help Moon Knight and the rest of the Midnight Mission, trying to defeat these bad werewolves. You also get some, like, I want to say little small Easter eggs or cameos if you're a fan of the wider Marvel universe. And you get characters like Wolfsbane mentioned, Rain Sinclair. So it is that type of story. This, I think, has tremendous artwork right here. This is the actual Werewolf by Night story. I just love the art in this. In this segment, when it's like a flashback, is beautiful. It's all about Elsa Bloodstone and a team up with Jack Russell. And I'm so glad that they are using Jack in current time, too. And, yeah, I think that color tone and that particular art style really works. And then it wraps up with the second Crypt of Shadows from 2023, telling stories about Dracula, telling stories about the Mummy, Frankenstein's monster. But not only those characters, because we are talking about the Marvel Universe, they do bump into the characters of the Marvel Universe. Like you have Werewolf by Night bumping into the Hulk and Kraven the Hunter. So I'm glad this was collected because a lot of the stories in here have not been collected elsewhere. The 2 Crypt of Shadow books, and I don't think that Werewolf by Night has been collected anywhere else besides this particular trade paperback. Dead X-Men. This is the miniseries that I was talking about that spins off entirely from the X-Men Hellfire Gala that happened earlier this year. And it's a miniseries about some of the characters that you saw in that Hellfire Gala. So without even going any further, I am going to go ahead and just say spoilers, because there's no other way to talk about this series, especially when it's called Dead X-Men, than to just mention that first. Okay, now, we do have a lot of artists for a 4-issue miniseries. So this does collect Dead X-Men 1 through 4. It has 120 pages, and the book retails for $17.99. But you have Steve Fox as the main writer, and then you have Bernard Chang and people like Peter Wynn and David Baldeón doing the art. But I mean, that is a lot of artists for a 4-issue miniseries. Frank Martin bringing it all together with the colors, and then Corey Petit with the lettering. And what this series is about is, I'm not going to go deep into spoilers, I promise. It is in the aftermath of the Hellfire Gala, where we found out our new X-Men were going to be Prodigy, Frenzy, Jubilee, Dazzler, and Cannonball. However, because of the attack of Orchis, they got killed. Now, somehow they are back, even though they stopped the Xavier protocols by being able to bring characters back. You can find out how exactly by reading this, because a lot of this does explain how these characters are alive. It is rather confusing if you're not reading the the Fall and Rise of X. I strongly suggest reading that first and then coming back here. And I know you probably don't want to, because a lot of people see that as the bookend to the Krakoa saga, and I get it. But I think a lot of the information is going to be missed out if you don't read that, because there are missions that they're being sent on, and there are things that are being talked about here. If you've read, for example, like Sense of Sinister, they are going to be going on a mission against, or trying to find one of the Moira engines that is still out there. So they're trying to find a Moira engine timeline, and who sends them on that mission is none other than Rachel Summers, known as Ascani during this time. Keep forgetting that she switched her name back. But the mission is simple. She sends them on a mission that goes throughout different timelines, where they have to go and find a Moira engine timeline, where she still has enough biological brain matter to get a psychometric reading off of her, because they need that in order for her to change. And the reason they need for her to change is all explained in the Fall of X and Rise of Powers of X. So that's what their mission is. They're going on different timelines and futures and possible futures. You're going to see some characters through here that you probably recognize one version of. And this does really feel like Exiles if you enjoyed that series. And I kind of want this series to continue. It is bloody as hell, by the way. This is the way the Moira engine looks. I love that she's got the Zorn axe helmet going around and just ripping people apart. But now it's up to these 5 X-Men, or rather 6, to try and see if they can get some kind of psychometric reading off of her. Or at least Rachel needs that. So you are going to see familiar faces, just in different timelines. And, every week I have a pick of the week. And my gosh, this came really close, because as confusing as it may sound, the characters are written so good. The chemistry between the characters that I didn't think would work actually works. Whenever you have somebody like Prodigy and somebody like Dazzler together and Cannonball, and I always throw Frenzy in there, because Frenzy's kind of like your wild card, because she was such a villain for so long, and then of course there was the whole thing with the Acolytes, and we didn't see her for a while, so she still could be written as a good guy / anti-hero type of character, but I really like the way that Steve Fox wrote her. I thought it was excellent, and I wanted more of the series. I was upset that it actually only has 4 issues, and the ending keeps you wanting more, which is, I guess, something good that you want in a comic book like this. So 120 pages. Let's look at the back here for the extras, which they're going to be variant covers. And yeah, here we go. So you have your covers, and then you have the variant covers. I think this is the gala cover. There's Jubes, and then thumbnail size covers right there. And that is Dead X-Men. Let's check out our modern Marvel Epic collection with Spider-Man Deadpool Modern Era Epic Volume 2, Till Death Do Us Part. And this is the first time I've seen them do this, and please let me know if you've seen it somewhere else too, where we have missing issues, because the missing issues were part of Epic Collection Volume 1. So this is where you're going to find issues 15 and 16 of the series. So this is Spider-Man, Deadpool, 15 and 16, 19 through 32, the Deadpool 2015 series, issue number 28 and 29, Deadpool and the Mercs for Money, 9 through 10. The book has 448 pages and retails for $44.99. Here are all of the credits, like Jerry Duggan, Christopher Hastings, Elia Kalan, Robbie Thompson, and Joshua Corin. Those are your main writers. And then on art, you do have the return of Chris Bachalo and Todd Knox, Salva Espin, Scott Koblish, and Ivan Coelho, and a few others. So this does kick off with the crossover, and I can see why this wasn't included in the first Epic collection, because then it would have been 6 extra issues in there. So I'm glad that it is collected and they keep it at the very beginning here. So this is the crossover that is Till Death Do Us, which is the name of this Epic collection. So during this time, I guess minor spoilers going in, Deadpool is married to this lady right here. This is Shikla, who is trying to destroy Earth, or at least New York. And that's what this crossover is. She goes out of control, and even though she's in a relationship with Deadpool, she starts sending an army, a legion of monsters, to destroy New York. Now, it's also very important to note that during this time, Deadpool has a daughter. I'm not going to go into detail as to who, what is her name? Eleanor? Is it Eleanor? Eleanor Camacho, I think is her last name. I think her first name is Eleanor. But she plays a little bit of a part through this series too. So this is the crossover with Deadpool and then Mercs for Money. And what ends up happening is that Deadpool tries to get, the heroes to fight on his side against this legion of monsters, and they even get somebody like Dracula to come and help them. However, it never goes the way that Deadpool plans it to go, because he's an idiot. And there's even a couple of things that you're like, why aren't you focused on the mission, man? And then you're reminded why he's Deadpool. And it's a fun story, and I'm glad that they were able to collect it fully, because I don't think I've read that fully. I don't think I've read the Spider... No, I did. It's collected in one of the Omnis. Next up is the storyline with Slapstick. So Slapstick is a character that has been around for a long time in the Marvel Universe, since the 90s. He's one of my brother's favorite characters. I don't know why. I think it was because the Marvel trading cards, Marvel Universe Series 3 had a trading card of him. But this is during a time when both Deadpool and Cable, slip of the tongue. I love that book. But when Deadpool and Spider-Man decided, okay, we need to be a little more serious about this, right? Like, we need to act a little bit more our age and focus less on the humor and start, focusing on the real drama that is going on, and take this a little more seriously. And then comes somebody that has the power of cartoons. So that doesn't last long at all. I love these different introductions here of both just Deadpool and Spider-Man sitting around. This is the Todd Knock issue, which features, this is, what's his name? Arcade is featured through here. So after that, we do get the return of Chris Bachalo, and that is this particular storyline. This one is Arms Race, where Spider-Man finds out, even though they just had this conversation about, being true and being more serious and being less hokey, it finds out that Deadpool has been selling shield weapons to villains, and he wants to know why. And this one brings back a lot of good memories, because you have characters like Husk that come and team up with him. But she's not alone, because when you find out who he's been selling the weapons to, you want to know why Deadpool has been doing it. And is it really Deadpool that hasn't been doing it? You have random appearances in here from, like, Clay Quarterman right here. But it's the life decoy model of Clay Quarterman, who we haven't seen for a while. I think since the pages of Hulk, if I'm not mistaken. But I love seeing characters like Husk show up through here. You do have, as part of the story, Old Man Parker and Old Man Wade teaming up. And then you go back to the central focus, which is this whole, why is Deadpool selling these particular weapons to supervillains, or was it really Deadpool to begin with? And that's what this mainly consists of. Just this ridiculous storyline, and it goes on for a long time. And you do see characters like Silk through here, you see characters like Mockingbird, and even some villains that get in on the fun. But it does end on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and there should be one more volume, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think I finished the series through, so I'm glad that they're doing these particular collections. So again, this book has 448 pages and retails for $44.99. Not much of extras. As a matter of fact, no extras in the back. Some of the variant covers are in between issues, but that's what they've been doing for the modern era Epic collections. There's really no extras in the back, except maybe a couple. Okay, we are at that point of the video where I remind people to smash that like button, but more importantly, where I also look at all of the spines coming out this week. And the blue on that Fantastic Four is a little bit lighter than that blue on the Generation X. So you can tell them apart on the shelf. But then again, why are you keeping your Gen X with your FFs? Anyway, that's another type of video. Let's go ahead and keep the overviews going. Next up is Generation X, Lost and Found. So this is volume 4 of Gen X. We'll need one more volume, I think, and that will be it. So what exactly does this collect, first of all? This collects Generation X 33 to 47, and Generation X, the half issue, Gen X, Dracula, Annual 98, the X-Men Unlimited, number 20, and then Gen X Holiday Special, number 1. This book has 496 pages and retails for $44.99. So here we go. Larry Hama taking the top billing because we are looking at his entire era on Gen X, Joseph Harris and Jay Farber. And then you have Steve Harris, Jason Johnson, but Terry Donson coming in as the main artist with Alexander Garza and Aaron Lopresti doing some fill-in stuff. Scott Hanna, Sean Pearsons, and Rachel Dotson are your main inkers. Your color is Mary Javins and Chris Sotomayor, and people like Paul Tutrone are the main colorists, and lettering by Richard Starkings. So, this is a Joe Mad cover. I love the fact that we kick it off on the Joe Mad cover, but this is the Larry Hama era of Gen X. This is after his run on Wolverine, and this is after he had finished doing all those Venom series, that he comes in and starts writing Generation X. Now, Mondo's not here during this particular era. Mondo has been gone and because of the whole Operation Zero Tolerance. So for the most part, who we're going to see here are Emma Frost and Banshee, Skin, Jubilee, Chamber, Sync, and M and Penance. Now, they also have people like Artie and Leech living with them, and well, let's talk about this first issue here. In this issue, there's somebody that has broken into the school and stolen some personal things from them. So that's what's going on in this first issue, and especially Skin. There was something very special to him that was stolen. We do have the return of Emma Frost. However, she doesn't have her powers like she did, and she's trying to get those powers back. And again, it's because something was stolen. We have the return of Emplate, Emplate, and then Emplate with an M, and then the twins. So this is where things get a little bit confusing. I remember I had to go back and reread this because I had only read this one time. This was at a time when I wasn't getting comic books. I had left comic books, so I had to go back and get the single issues when I came back to comics, because it's just the way my brain is. I want to read it all. Whether it's good or bad, I want to experience it myself. So I had totally forgotten about this whole thing with Nicole and Claudette. So we have Monet, who comes in, and she's M. She's perfect. That's her powers. And then she was able to merge with Emplate. They're related. Then we have the twins, or the two sisters, Claudette and Nicole. So this here completely changes the things that they had done in the past and gives us a new kind of stories for these characters. As a matter of fact, the true secret of Penance is revealed through here, and how she's related to these particular characters. Is that Elmwood? Yeah, this is man. These stories get a little trippy. Although we do meet one of the new cast members in this particular issue, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's in 37. This is where we meet one new mutant. That she's off in this other world, but she meets Sync, and that is the character of Gaia. And Gaia will play an important part later on through here. Now we have Chimera teaming up with M-Plate, and again, that's an M, not EM plate. And what they're trying to do is trying to go in and destroy the Gen X school from the inside out. And during this time is when we have Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson come in as your main artist. So again, you're going to have some answers with the twins. You're going to have a new kind of story with M and a new kind of story with the character of Penance. This is the half issue, which is just the journey of Paige Guthrie and how it's like a day in the life of her stories. And then I think this is the fill-in issue, but yeah, Alex Garza, who also did the half issue. I was a big fan of his stuff. He was a Wildstorm artist for a long time. This is actually a really good story. I dig this one because this reminds me of the simpler times of New Mutants. But they're watching a horror movie, and then somehow the serial killer from the horror movie could be around in the house itself. So that's what they're trying to stop. I love the fact that Jubilee still is dealing with these nightmares. I don't mean that as like in a good way, but it's just nightmares of the character of Bastion and everything that happened in Operation Zero Tolerance. So even when the kids are trying to have a nice, this is Gaia, by the way, are trying to have a nice day out, they can't, right? But I love the fact that Larry Hama really tried to bring things home. Like, he didn't make it like a huge, like, intergalactic type of story or kids getting kidnapped left and right. There's a little bit of that, and there is some intergalactic stuff in here, mainly with the character of Bianca Laniche, who gets to come back for revenge. And then you get to feature, what's his name? Galactus, and this is Gaia. Again, who will play a bigger part, especially in the next volume. By the end of this, you are going to see school costumes because Emma has her powers and she's like, we need to change some things up. We need to actually make this a school. This is the Dracula, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is the Gen X and Dracula annual right here. Back then in 1997 and 1998, some of the annuals, actually all the annuals, were kind of a merge of two different characters in Marvel. Like, there was Thunderbolts and Avengers annual, there was Cable and X-Force annual. So they decided to do a Dracula and Gen X annual right here, which could mean that some of the kids are turning. I love this right here. I remember having to try to find, I couldn't find it for the longest time. This is a story by Joseph Harris, and it features the characters of Nanny and Orphan Maker, who I've been a big fan of for a long time, but it is also Adam Polino's artwork that draws me. Adam Polino is this wonderful artist that I don't think he got enough praise. Like, I really enjoyed his artwork, and I didn't hear enough people talk about him when I left comics, and then when I came back to comics, not enough people were talking about him. And you have one art page, and then some of the variants are in between issues because there weren't a lot of variants back then. So again, this book has 496 pages. It is volume 4. We got one more volume to go, I believe, 47, because it goes all the way to 60. Yeah, I think that will be it. And retails for $44.99. Now, one thing I didn't note is that, for the modern era epics, they do have the color on the actual picture, whereas here they just have like a blue tone, as well as the next book, which is Fantastic Fours! Counter-Earth Must Die. I have been waiting for this for so long. And that blue tone right there. So here we have volume 10 of Fantastic Four Epic Collection. And why have I been waiting for this one for so long? I'll tell you why. I love collected editions. That might be an understatement. And I have held on to these two visionaries for so long. So really quick, this collects issues 168 to 191. Fantastic Four Annual 11, Marvel 2-in-1 number 20, Marvel 2-in-1 Annual number 1, material for Marvel Treasury number 11. This book has 512 pages and retails for $49.99. These are some of the early trade paperbacks I bought, and what these are the George Perez Visionaries. I had the Walter Simonson Thor Visionaries, the Fantastic Four, John Byrne Visionaries, and the Peter David Hulk Visionaries. And of course, those got replaced by Epic Collections or Omnis. But when it came to this one is so strange because it's it's not really George Perez fully. I mean, it is. It's just his artwork. But with those other creators, they were writing the stories or drawing them, like Walter Simonson or John Byrne. So they got the whole run collected, right? Like they're every single issue without missing a beat. These have some, like especially in volume 1, like you go from 167 to 170 and then all the way to 176, and over here you are still missing issues like 189 and 190. This beautiful thing collects all of it. Do I still have to keep volume 2? You bet your butt I do, because there's one issue that's in here, 192, that's not in this epic collection. I thought I could get rid of you too. Not yet, just a little longer. I am a huge fan of George Perez. We lost him a couple of years ago, and it really shocked the world of comics. You know, a lot of us, anybody that had ever met him, nicest guy in comics you're ever going to meet. And it broke my heart to see us lose somebody so wonderful. Such a caring person. But he's not alone. Remember I said he was just the artist. Roy Thomas, Len Wein coming in. You do have some stories in here by Bill Mantlo and Jerry Conway and all these wonderful people here. George Perez, of course, taking the top billing. But when his art is not here, it's John Buscema or his brother, our pal Sal Buscema. Joe Sinnott and George Russo's and John Buscema doing some of the inks with Tony DeZuniga, and then lettering by Joe Rosen and John Costanza. That's interesting that they're taking the top billing over the colorist. That's cool. Phil Rachelson and Glenn Esween and Petra Goldberg are your colorists for the most part here. So again, collecting issues 168 to 191 of the Fantastic Four. So in the previous volume, we got to see them fight the Crusader. And some of this has been collected in that Marvel 2-in-1 volume 2. And so I've already talked a little bit about that crossover. But the main reason I was super excited about this is because there are some issues in here that I haven't read. I never got the chance to read them because as I was doing my read-through, I had collected editions, and I also had like some of my buddy Shaka's single issues. But he didn't have issues, like some of these issues, like especially in the 170s. So from 171 to 175, it's the first time I read them. And I don't know how people feel about these stories. You know, you hear like when Stan and Jack left the book, went downhill and it was never the same. And then you see people online, you know, I was under the mindset that everybody loved Walter Simonson's Fantastic Four or even John Byrne's Fantastic Four. And you see that that's not the case. There's people that actually don't like that kind of stuff, and that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. So I really have no idea what the consensus is when it comes to stories like this. So really quick, what's going on through here is Ben has lost his powers because of something that happened in the previous arc, and Power Man, Luke Cage, is kind of taken over the role of being the fourth member of the Fantastic Four. However, in the second issue that he's the member, he turns on the team. Why is this good guy going bad? Well, that's probably because he's being mind controlled, right? I mean, come on. We're not stupid. We've done this so many times. You're going to see so many tropey things in this book. I don't give a crap. It was awesome. This gets my seal of approval. Oh, I love comics. I love comics like this. You know, and it's not even because I'm old. This came out when 1976. 1978 is the year I was born. It's not like I was reading these. But it's just so wonderful to be able to read these stories. And some of these stories for me were the first time reading them. That wonderful homage there. So how is he the Thing again? How does he get his powers back? In a ridiculous way. He does it. It's Reed. He makes him an exosuit to climb in, and it's a powerful exosuit. So in my own mind, reading these stories again, I'm like, wait, can't he just make those kind of suits for the rest of the family, and they don't really have to have powers? Comics, man, you gotta love them. So this is the crossover right here with the annual Marvel Team Up and the Marvel Team Up where they travel through time. They team up with the Invaders and then later on the Liberators, and it's against what is his name, Master Man, and a bunch of these other characters from this particular era of Marvel, or I guess the Golden Age. So it is mainly focusing on the Thing, because of course he had his own series with the Marvel 2-in-1. And I do love the fact that, yeah, he's still wearing the exosuit. I feel like the annual might have been written before he had his exosuit, so they kind of added a couple panels. But hey, that's okay. That's comics. Johnny's still having issues dating. This is Gore, the Golden Gorilla. Now he comes with a message that he comes from Counter-Earth, and hence the title, Counter-Earth Must Die, where Galactus is going to destroy it. So the High Evolutionary needs the help of the Fantastic Four to defeat Galactus. Brute gets to come back, and Brute is that Counter-Earth character that is Reed Richards if he had turned into the Thing, but still keeping the mind of Mr. Fantastic. And again, you know, when you don't have George Perez drawing these wonderful issues, it is John Buscema. This is the Impossible Man. And the Impossible Man is just one of these characters I was never the biggest fan of. But he does come back from time to time. He's a staple character in the Fantastic Four. But I do like the way that he is defeated. They go to the Marvel offices. They go talk to Stan Lee about writing a Impossible Man story. So you get to see the bullpen in here. So there's all these little cameos of people that worked at Marvel Comics during this time. It's great. They're like editors and production managers, people you normally don't see, you know. So I thought that was a nice touch. I like when it kind of goes into that breaking of the fourth wall. The Frightful Four. Now, if you count them, there are only three. You've got the Trapster, you've got the Sandman, and you've got the Wizard. So they're holding an America's Got Talent type of program where the fourth member can come and join them, but there has to be a tryout. So you get all these new ridiculous members, like the Texas Twister. If you've read the Avengers Initiative, you may know who he is. Osprey right here. So all these lame villains, some of them new, some of them old, and trying to audition to become part of the Frightful Four. Remember when I said the Brute comes back through here? He does play a big part. And again, George Perez, beautiful artwork. Before he ended up, of course, leaving the book, Ron Wilson right there, and going on to other things at the Distinguished Competition, and then, of course, Avengers. But it's a long storyline. The Brute plays a huge storyline through here. Not so much Counter-Earth, but the Brood in the Negative Zone, so you do get to see Annihilus. You do get to see some new members of the Fantastic Four, like Thundra and Tigra, end up joining the team for a while. So I do like the fact that they were shaking things up even back then in the 70s, like not keeping it, you know, just the Fantastic Four, not just Mr. Fantastic, the Human Torch, the Invisible Woman, and the Thing. This is the return of Agatha Harkness, but she doesn't come alone because Franklin Richards has been kidnapped. And we also get to find out who this guy is, this sharp-looking man right there, Nicholas Scratch, the mayor of this fine town, who exactly he is, and who he is to someone like Agatha. Living Laser right there, and again, more of Evil Reed, if you couldn't get enough of the Brute storylines through here. And this has a lot. It has 512. Now, as I mentioned, George Perez does have one more issue in the next particular book. I think he also does annuals 14 and 15, so we are going to see some more of George Perez showing up through the Fantastic Four. But they are cranking them out. I know volume 11 comes out sometime next year, if I'm not mistaken, because we've announced it already. And here's all of the extras, like the Marvel Treasury edition. And then this is an article by Roy Thomas. These are reprints. And then original pages right here, a sketch by Dave Cockrum. And that is the Fantastic Four Epic Collection Counter-Earth Must Die. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, please check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of these books. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you are picking up. Are you an epic collector? Are you a thin, slim trade paperback collector? Or are you an omni-waiter? Or are you a double dipper, triple dipper? You just love single issues, you get the trades, and then you move on to big hardcovers? Or you keep it all? Leave those comments down below. Don't forget to ask questions. If you have them, leave the questions down below. That's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.